There's a specific kind of anxiety that only exists in the bedroom. It usually starts around 9:30 or 10 p.m. You look at the clock and think, if I go to sleep right now, I can get 8 hours. So, you put on your pajamas, you brush your teeth, and you get into bed. You turn off the lights. You close your eyes. You are ready. You are trying to sleep. But sleep does not come. Or if it does, it is shallow and fragile. You spend the next hour tossing, turning, and adjusting the pillow. Or perhaps you drift off, only to wake up 3 hours later, staring at the ceiling, calculating how much time you have left before the alarm goes off. For most people over the age of 45, the bedroom has turned into a battleground. We have been told our whole lives that we need 8 hours of sleep to be healthy, so we do the logical thing. We spend 8, 9, or even 10 hours in bed, hoping to catch those elusive hours of rest. We treat sleep like a job. We clock in early, hoping that if we put in the hours, the sleep will follow. But what if I told you that trying to sleep, specifically spending more time in bed to catch up on rest, is actually the primary driver of your broken nights? What if the reason you are waking up in the middle of the night isn't because you aren't spending enough time in bed, but because you are spending too much time there? I stopped trying to force an 8-hour window into a body that currently only had the capacity for 6. Instead, I did something that seemed completely counterintuitive, almost boring, and it reset my nights entirely. To understand why trying to sleep backfires, we have to look at a concept called sleep efficiency. Imagine your sleep is like a ball of pizza dough. When you were 20 years old, that ball of dough was large and elastic. You could stretch it across a massive 10-hour pizza pan, and it would cover the whole thing perfectly, thick, consistent, and without any holes. You could sleep anywhere, anytime, for as long as you wanted. But as we age, our physiology changes. Our production of sleep-regulating hormones shifts, and our sleep drive, the biological pressure that pushes us into unconsciousness, becomes a little less intense. The ball of dough naturally becomes a little smaller. This is normal. The problem arises when we try to stretch that smaller ball of dough across the same large 10-hour pan. When you take a 6-hour capacity for sleep and try to stretch it across 9 hours of time in bed, the dough tears. It gets thin. You end up with massive holes. Those holes are the moments you lie awake at 1 a.m. They are the fragmented light sleep where you hear every car drive by. They are the early morning awakenings where you can't get back to sleep. This is called sleep dilution. By spending too much time in bed trying to sleep, you are diluting the quality of the sleep you actually get. You are training your brain that the bed is a place for thinking, worrying, and listening to podcasts, not a place for unconsciousness. The biological mechanism behind this is called adenosine pressure. Think of adenosine like a hunger hormone, but for sleep. From the moment you wake up, you start building up this hunger. The longer you are awake and active, the hungrier your brain gets for sleep. When you go to bed too early, before you are truly starving for sleep, or when you linger in bed for hours in the morning dozing, you are essentially snacking. You are ruining your appetite for the main meal. The result is that when you finally close your eyes, your sleep hunger is weak. You might fall asleep, but the drive isn't strong enough to keep you under for the whole night. The moment you hit a natural light phase in your sleep cycle, you wake up completely because the pressure is gone. So the solution isn't to force yourself to relax. The solution is to condense your sleep window. It is to match the size of the pan to the size of the dough. This approach requires a shift in mindset. We are moving from quantity to density. Here are 2 specific, somewhat boring adjustments to increase your sleep drive and fill those holes in the night. This is the boring thing I did instead of tossing and turning. I shortened my time in bed. If you are currently sleeping 6 hours but spending 8 hours in bed, you have 2 hours of insomnia baked into your schedule. The strategy is to push your bedtime later. If you usually wake up at 6 a.m. and you are only actually sleeping about 6 hours, do not get into bed until midnight. I know this sounds terrifying. You might think, I'll be exhausted. But remember, you are already only getting 6 hours. You are just getting them with miserable interruptions. By staying up until you are truly, physically exhausted, doing boring tasks like folding laundry, reading a dense book, or prepping lunch for tomorrow, you build up massive adenosine pressure. You build up a ravenous hunger for sleep. When you finally hit the pillow at midnight, your body doesn't have the energy to toss and turn. It dives immediately into deep restorative sleep because the pressure is so high. You condense those 6 hours into a solid, unbroken block. Once you are sleeping solidly through that short window for a week or two, you can slowly start adding 15 minutes back to your bedtime, stretching the dough just a tiny bit at a time without tearing it. While sleep pressure is the engine, temperature is the ignition switch. For your brain to transition from wakefulness to deep sleep, your core body temperature must drop by about 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. If your core stays hot, your brain stays alert. As we age, our ability to regulate heat declines. We often struggle to shed that core heat efficiently. Here is the paradox. To cool down your core, you need to warm up your skin. About 90 minutes before your new, later bedtime, take a warm shower or a hot bath. It doesn't need to be long, just enough to flush your skin pink. When you step out of the warm water into a cooler bedroom, the blood vessels in your skin and extremities, hands and feet, dilate. They open up wide. This draws the heat from your internal organs and releases it through your skin, like a radiator venting heat. This massive thermal dump signals the brain that it is night. It triggers a release of melatonin that is far more powerful than any pill. If a bath isn't your style, you can mimic this by wearing warm, fuzzy socks to bed. It sounds trivial, but warming the feet dilates the blood vessels there, pulling heat away from the center of the body and helping you lower that core thermostat. It's a mechanical trick to force the body into sleep mode. Finally, for those who feel their sleep-wake cycle is entirely out of sync, sometimes the body needs raw materials to help reestablish a natural rhythm. There are non-sedative, natural compounds that support the body's ability to calm the nervous system without knocking you out. If you are looking for a way to gently support your sleep quality alongside these habit changes, there is a resource linked in the description below. It details a method for nourishing the body's natural relaxation pathways. Stopping the struggle was the most important part of my sleep recovery. When you stop viewing the night as a performance you have to get right and start viewing sleep as a biological appetite that you need to build up, the anxiety fades. You stop trying to sleep, and you simply let sleep happen when the pressure is high enough. Once you have condensed your sleep into a solid block, you might notice your energy during the day changes dramatically. To learn how to amplify that daytime energy so you can build even better sleep pressure for tomorrow, click the video appearing on your screen now.